Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Stephanie. I'm a resident of the Door of Hope, and I've been here for almost exactly a year.
Well, I've known you for the last year, but I haven't known you before that. So if you could, what was Stephanie like before I met her?
I was a hot mess. Growing up, I was a pretty good kid. I was really smart. I didn't have both of my parents in the home, so I was kind of back and forth between them. And things were always a little bit difficult, but I was always really happy as a kid. Then I got a little bit older, and adulthood set in, and I wasn't quite ready for that yet. I didn't know what to do anymore, honestly. I didn't have anything except for a kid and debt. And that's not really a place that you want to be.
I want to go back to kid, debt. You said you were older, but not making good decisions. How did that all make you feel? So there you are, you have a kid, no debt. How are you feeling?
In a less broad sense, I had no idea where I was going to stay. I had no idea if or when I was going to eat and how or what. When I found out that I was pregnant, I was really upset. I had to basically just quit my job because I was working in a kitchen with no air conditioning and had terrible morning sickness, and I just couldn't do it. So I lost my job. I lost my home. I had really no support system at all. I still had to worry about the kid that I had, and all of a sudden I'm pregnant with another one, and I can't even take care of myself. Like I said, I was really hopeless, and I was feeling worthless, and I kind of just convinced myself that not only was there nothing I could do to help my situation, but my daughter would be better off if she just didn't have to deal with me at all. My daughter loves me a lot, but I felt like she had better role models in her life, and I didn't want to be a reason why she ever didn't succeed. So I was just ready to call it quits, honestly. I had decided one day, it was hot, I was pregnant, I was out on the street, and I went to a public library because I didn't even have a phone, and I used the Wi-Fi there, and I told 2 different people goodbye, basically. I didn't say anything to my mother because I know if I did, she would start freaking out. And they both reached out to my mom, and my plan had been to jump off of an overpass because it was the scariest thing I could think of, and if I'm gonna go out, gotta do it my way. And I was a block away from that overpass, and my mom showed up. I don't know how. She doesn't know how either. She just knew the general vicinity that I was in, and showed up right on time. And she took me to the hospital, and they sent me to Truman Behavioral. I was there for 5 days, and I didn't know where I was gonna go next. They didn't know where to send me either. Honestly, the caseworker there was just as confused as I was. And then they came and got me from my room, and they said, listen, I was just Googling online trying to find something, and there's a place called Door of Hope. It's a maternity home. Kind of broke down different things about the program. They told me it was faith-based, which I was really worried about because, I mean, we've had the discussion before. I was a lifelong atheist. Didn't want anything to do with religion at all, not just Christianity, but I just said no. And then my ex-boyfriend called me crying, and he was like, you have to go to this place. You absolutely have to. You don't have anywhere else to go. I don't want you to be suicidal or in the type of situation that you were in. And I kind of just had to decide in my mind that it didn't matter what I had to do. I just had to do it. And this is not at all what I expected. They said maternity home. I'm thinking like it's gonna look like some type of facility with a bunch of girls in one room and bunk beds and gray walls, and I'm thinking like the worst. And then we got here and I'm like, oh, this is a house, and it's a cute little house. And I walk in and the house mother was here, and she's a sweet little older lady, and she's just chilling with her quilt, you know, hanging out. And I looked around and there's decorations and it looks like a home, which helped a lot.
So you're walking into these crazy Christians, faith-based community. Walls are up, right? Walls are up. I don't know about this, but somehow, somewhere, Stephanie knew this is where I needed to be. You get here and what's that first day like, and the people that you remember meeting, how were you feeling?
I questioned myself a lot. I was expecting it to be really down your throat about it, like gotta pray all day and basically just commit yourself immediately. And I honestly felt like if I didn't, I would just be like put out. Really, and I was worried about it. I thought I was gonna have to fake the funk the whole time I was here. But it wasn't like that at all. It was really laid back, and nobody, I mean, of course there's requirements with the program. You gotta go to church, you gotta do certain things, and it is faith-based, but it wasn't nearly as in your face as I thought that it would be, which made it a lot easier.
I want to talk about your faith, but at this time, adamant atheist, right?
Yes.
But looking back, it's almost, would you say this is the point almost where it seemed like you started to get carried along?
That's pretty much how I even converted, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And I've told you before, I felt like God approached me. I didn't go to him, he came to me.
You were running from him.
I definitely was. I had people along the way try to get me to entertain the idea of God and Jesus, and I was just like, I was one of those atheists that would like quote the Bible in rebuttal.
My favorite kind.
Yeah, the best kind. I mean, it didn't matter. It just didn't matter. You guys weren't here to judge me for being an atheist. You guys were here to help and show me God. Not make me have God, but show me God.
Is there a moment that stands out where...
I can tell you the exact moment
Please.
that I decided to basically just put it in his hands. I had been here for a couple of weeks. I was still transitioning. I had seen things getting better, a lot better. But I also was just struggling with some things internally. And I remember being in the shower, and that's my meditative state right there. I get in the shower and I basically just lose myself in thought. These days I pray in the shower, which is weird maybe, but that's where I go and basically just talk to God the whole time. I was in there, I'm thinking, I'm crying, I got tears and water running down my face, and I remember basically just, it was the first time that I had ever really said anything to God other than maybe complaining or being accusatory. And I was just like, listen, I feel like you're trying to reach out to me. I need you to be very clear with me because I'm hard-headed. And if you're trying to say something to me, speak up and I'll listen. And I promised, basically, I said, I'm open to it. If you want to help me, if you want to change me, if you want anything from me, let me hear it. And I'll listen and I'll do something about it. And I started really trusting God. And I remember having a hard time with it at first because I had been so adamantly atheist. And I was like, oh God, am I being brainwashed? But I mean, that's not how I feel. I don't feel like I was brainwashed. I feel like my eyes were opened. And I opened my mind too, which is another thing that was holding me back. I just wasn't open-minded about it. Everything started getting better. And of course, everything's not always all rainbows and balloons. I mean, I've gone through tough times since being here. It's a lot easier now. It's nice not to have to worry. And I know that when I leave here, I'll be in a better place. And I don't ever want to go back to where I was. And that's what they're helping me with. I know when I leave here, I'll be better.